The realtor apologized before unlocking the front door. I should mention, she hesitated. None of the clocks work. I almost laughed. Of all the warnings someone could give about an old house, broken clocks seemed wonderfully ordinary. I've already replaced them, she continued. Battery clocks, mechanical clocks, even my phone. She forced a smile. They all stop. I assumed she meant dead batteries, poor wiring, humidity. Old houses are full of harmless superstitions. The price was low enough that I ignored them. I signed the papers that afternoon. The first clock stopped exactly 23 minutes after I unpacked it. A cheap plastic alarm clock I'd bought at a gas station. The second stopped while I watched. Its second hand shuddered once, twice, then rested permanently at 4:17. The digital clock on the microwave froze the same evening. 4:17. My wristwatch followed before bed. 4:17. Every device still had power. They simply refused to move beyond that moment. I told myself I'd call an electrician. Instead, I spent my first night listening to a house that seemed determined not to acknowledge time at all. Silence has weight. You don't notice it until you live somewhere that carries too much of it. The house settled differently than others I'd known. No groaning beams, no sighing pipes. Only long stretches where every room seemed to hold its breath. My footsteps sounded inappropriate, too loud, too alive. I found clocks everywhere. A brass carriage clock inside a kitchen cabinet. A cracked mantel clock wrapped carefully in newspaper. A tiny travel clock tucked into the pocket of an old coat hanging in the attic. Everyone displayed 4:17. Most hadn't functioned in decades. Still, their hands agreed. The neighbors offered explanations. Lightning strike, magnetic anomaly, local legend. None of them entered the property while speaking. They remained politely at the gate. One elderly man asked whether I'd heard the footsteps yet. What footsteps? He stared toward the upstairs windows. The ones that stop halfway. That night, I heard them. Slow footsteps crossing the second floor. Measured, deliberate. They descended exactly 7 steps, then ceased. Not because whoever climbed them reached the landing, because they simply stopped existing. The silence afterward felt heavier than the sound itself. I searched the house the following morning. The staircase creaked beneath my weight. 7 steps. The 8th remained strangely pristine, less worn than the others, as though no one had touched it in years. I climbed slowly. At the 7th step, my chest tightened. Not fear, recognition, an absurd feeling. I had never been inside this house before, yet something about that exact place disturbed me with intimate familiarity. The upstairs contained only 3 empty bedrooms, bare walls, faded wallpaper. Nothing remarkable, except one room. The smallest bedroom held no furniture, only dozens of nail holes circling the walls at shoulder height. Something had once covered every inch. Photographs, perhaps. Paintings. The wallpaper had faded around them, preserving pale rectangles like ghosts of forgotten memories. As I stood in the center of the room, every stopped clock downstairs chimed once. Not together. One after another. A slow procession of hollow metallic notes rising through the floor. Then silence returned. When I looked back toward the hallway, the bedroom door had closed. I don't remember hearing it move. I found the box 3 weeks later. It had been hidden beneath loose floorboards in the attic. Inside were letters, family photographs, newspaper clippings, and one leather-bound journal. The house had belonged to a clockmaker named Walter Ames. His wife, their young daughter. Ordinary lives documented through birthdays, repairs, grocery lists, forgotten errands. Then the entries changed. His daughter disappeared, not abducted, not murdered, missing. One ordinary autumn afternoon, she wandered into nearby woods and never returned. The search lasted months. The journal described hope deteriorating into ritual. Walter stopped repairing clocks. Instead, he collected them. Dozens. Hundreds. He placed them throughout the house. He wrote, "If time refuses to move, perhaps she cannot move farther away." The final journal entry consisted of only one sentence. She left at 4:17. I closed the journal. My hands were trembling. Not because of Walter, because the date written beside that sentence meant something. A date I knew. Not from history, from memory. I was 6 years old. That afternoon, I became separated from my parents while hiking through unfamiliar woods. Search teams found me before sunset. Cold, lost, frightened. The newspapers called it miraculous. I remembered almost nothing afterward. Trauma does that, or so everyone believed. The old newspaper clipping beneath Walter's journal wasn't about his daughter. It was about me. Different names. Same day. Same forest. The articles had been folded together so many times the paper threatened to dissolve. I drove to the local library, asked for archived maps, old search records, anything. The forest paths had changed over the decades. One trail no longer existed. It had once connected directly to the property, to this house. Something stirred inside memory. Not images, sensations. Warm soup. A rocking chair. Someone wrapping a blanket around my shoulders. The smell of sawdust. Ticking clocks. Then, a woman's voice. "Stay here while I find your parents." I had never stayed. Children panic. Children run. I remembered opening the front door, running back into the woods. Someone calling after me. A little girl's laughter somewhere nearby. Then nothing. Nothing at all. Until rescuers found me hours later. The sheriff's office still kept the oldest missing person files. Walter's daughter had disappeared the same afternoon I wandered away. Searchers assumed that she'd entered the woods. No one searched the house immediately. Why would they? Everyone believed Walter had been helping organize the rescue efforts. By the time they realized she had never left home, too much time had passed. The official report concluded nothing. No evidence, no explanation. Standing in the empty bedroom that night, memory finally returned. Not all at once. Quietly. Like dust settling. She had hidden beneath the bed while we played. Children invent games without rules. I became frightened by distant voices calling my name. I ran. She stayed hidden, waiting for me to return. Waiting until the adults found her. Except, they never looked beneath the bed. Walter searched forests. Neighbors searched rivers. Police searched fields. His daughter remained inside the house. Terrified. Silent. Too frightened to leave her hiding place after strangers filled every room. She died exactly where she'd been waiting. Waiting for me. Waiting because I had promised to come back. I lifted the floorboards beneath the bed just the air smelled faintly of cedar, time, dust. There was almost nothing left.